So hello everybody, we're going to start to learn chapter 13. So before we look at what we're going to learn from chapter 13, can you look at this picture? Can you guess where it is? Where is it? Yes, it is the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. So if you get a chance to go to visiting the Cleveland, which is about 2 hours away from Edinburgh, and you'll be able to you should go visit the Federal Reserve Bank Cleveland. So they're usually offering the group tour. So if you have like 5, 6 friends to go together, and you can call the Federal Reserve Bank Cleveland to scheduling the group tour. And so everybody taking my class should understand that. And so I'm was selected as the co-chair and currently the chair of the Federal Reserve Bank Cleveland undergrad research competition, and it is a great honor. And the reason I take that position is because I do believe what the importance of the Federal Reserve System, and it's good idea for me to know more economists from the Federal Reserve so that I can bring more resource to our student. So in this chapter, what we're gonna look at is the central bank and the Federal Reserve System. So we only focus on our Federal Reserve System, and so we do have one section related to the Euro central banks, and feel free to read it by yourself. But for this week's lecture, we will focus on the Federal Reserve System. So after learning this chapter, consider the structure and activity of the central banks, focusing on primary and the Federal Reserve System of the United States. So after learning this chapter, you'll be able to recognize the history content of the development of the Federal Reserve System, and you'll be able to describe the key features and the function of the Federal Reserve System, and you'll be able to assess the degree of the independence of the Federal Reserve, and also you'll be able to identify the ways in which the theory of the bureaucratic behavior can help explain the Federal Reserve's actions. And here I want to mention, so as during the whole semester, you are listening to my lecture. And as I said, after I know several economists from the Federal Reserve, the initial plan, if we do have the face-to-face class, and I want to invite the guest speaker to come to our class to help us to talk about history of the Federal Reserve System and the structure of the Federal Reserve System, because they will be able to offer you more a better insight about the whole system, because they are the current employee at the Federal Reserve System. And however, we won't be able to have this face-to-face opportunity. Therefore, I contact some of the economists, and then they refer me a few important video that is help you to understand the origin of the Federal Reserve System and the structure of the Federal Reserve System. So therefore, as you watch the second and third video, and also until the chapter 13.3, point 3.10. So those are the video are generated from the Federal Reserve, and those are recommended by the federal economist. And so I think you will learn more from watching those videos. So then the question is how you're going to use these slides. You're going to see pretty soon for the section 1, the origin of the federal system, and the section 2, the structure of the federal system. So everything on the slides will be the summary of what you're going to watch on those videos. But watching those videos, you will have more insight about the history and the structure of the Federal Reserve. So therefore, when you're watching the videos, you don't have to have the handout, the slides in hand. And so you can watch it and take a note, and then compare the note with the notes on the slides. So every information on the slides will be the key points from the videos. And so it will be a little different from the lecture I give you, but all the key points will be on those lectures, the videos, but I'm sure you will enjoy it, and you will get a better insight about the system of the Federal Reserve. So my original lecture will be resumed at the slide 26 when I will discussing the independence of the Fed. So that's when I will come back to give you more lecture about the independence of the Fed and should we have an independent Fed. And so that's our introduction video. Hopefully you are enjoying the unique learning of this chapter and hearing the lecture from the expert from the Federal Reserve.